Most of all, I learned that holiness is obedience. When all is said and done, holiness is living out the will of God in the world. Now, this is what we call the great, the pen is over here. This is what we call the great paradox of holiness. All right? The great paradox of holiness. It's like a paradox. Because this same God who called us out of this world is telling us to go back into the sinful and fallen world to be salt and light. Let me say that again. This God who sets us apart is also telling us to go into a sinful and fallen world. He saved us, He cleansed us, He brought us into His kingdom, and now He says, go and shine as salt and light. You see, that means true holiness is not measured by the extent we withdraw from the world. On the contrary, true holiness is measured by the extent we are willing to obey the Lord, to live for Him as His hands, His feet, to be His eyes, His mouth, out there among the lost in the world. Look at Jesus. Where do you find Him in the gospel? You find Jesus always reaching out to the prostitutes and the drunkards, the tax collectors, to the sinners, to all the loose, broken, messed up people. And how did Jesus pray in John 17? Jesus prayed to God the Father. He said, Father, I do not pray that you take my disciples out of the world. By the way, the word world is the word cosmos. That means society. Don't take them out of the society that you have planted them in. You see, conservative, traditional Christianity have this mindset that the moment you are saved, you should have nothing to do with the world. But Jesus prayed, John 17, Father, I pray you keep them in the world. Keep them in that cosmos. Keep them in that society. Just protect them from the evil one. And so Jesus sent us out with a threefold calling. He sent us out, first of all, to be the salt of the earth. That means you are to bring life and bring preservation among the decaying, among all that is rotten out there in society. Secondly, He says, I send you as light of the world. Where does light shine the brightest? When it is the darkest. I send you, number 3, as sheep among the wolves. In other words, Jesus is not oblivious to the possibility of the world being able to gobble you up. He likens the world as wolves. In other words, they can contaminate you. They can destroy you. They can eat you up. But how many of you know that greater is He who is in us than he who is out there? So this is called a paradox. Because here we are, believing that greater is He who is in us, but yet we are so afraid of whatever that's outside the four walls of the church. How many of you know you can't change that which you are afraid of? Right? If a pastor is afraid of the elders, the pastor cannot change the church. Yeah? If you're afraid of the world, you can't lead. So it's a paradox. Because on one hand, we want to be pure for God. On the other hand, true holiness and purity is to obey God out there among the lost.